Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Balava Giri Bharadhari. Gopi Jana Balava Giri Bharadhari. Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yamunatira Vanachare. Yamunatira Vanachare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Balava Giri Bharadhari. Gopi Jana Balava Giri Bharadhari. Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Vraja Janaranjana. Yamunatira Vanachare. Yamunatira Vanachare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Prabhupada Jai, Prabhupada Jai, Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada Jai, Prabhupada Jai, Prabhupada Jai, Prabhupada. Jai Prabhupada Jai, Prabhupada Jai, Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajacharya Tadasasi Samad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki ISKCON's founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Sri Gita Jayanti Ki Sri Sri Radha Radhanath Ki Sri Giri Govardhan Ki Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So devotees, well, first of all, it's really wonderful to be here with you all. I hope you're all happy in Krishna consciousness. I'm sure that under Sri Damodar Prabhu's care you are. So, and I think all the service you're doing is just really wonderful. Keep it up. You're getting a lot of mercy, and there's a lot of mercy to be got. And today is Gita Jayanti, the anniversary of the day when Lord Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita. So it's a very special occasion, and with Sri Damodar Prabhu's permission, we will focus on Bhagavad Gita this morning. That's okay, right? Yes, of course. It's fine. It's good. Yes, so to start off with, I'll read two verses which are they're special, although a lot of people, devotees, don't really, as far as I'm aware in my experience, they're not really so aware of the specialness of these verses. They are the first verse of Bhagavad Gita and the last verse. Yes, I only found out, or understood or found out about their significance in relation to each other. Oh, I forget, but not long ago. It might be, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago, something like that. Not such a long time ago. But they are connected together, connected to each other. And in a certain sense, they tie the Bhagavad Gita together, hold it together, sort of as a unit, you could say. So, okay, let me read first verse 1 then. Chapter 1, verse 1 of Bhagavad Gita. Dhritarashtra uvacha dharmakshetre kurukshetre samaveta yuyutsavaha mamaka pandavas chaiva kim akurvata sanjaya. Dhritarashtra said, O Sanjaya, after my sons and the sons of Pandu assembled in the place of pilgrimage at Kurukshetra, desiring to fight, what did they do? It's what to do, shall we read? I think I'll just say just a few words by way of introduction here. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachadeshtarne Sri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivas Adi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vanchkalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhyevacha. Patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So yes, just a few words by way of introduction here. This is Dhritarashtra, this is the first verse of Bhagavad Gita. And Dhritarashtra is speaking to his secretary Sanjaya. And I assume, I'm sure you all know who these people are. So this is just introducing the scene, the situation, but it's also, well, it's going to lead to an elaboration in terms of message. At first it just looks like a question of, what's happening type of question in that sense. When I, in my youth, when I was 17, and I was working as a cadet reporter in a large, by New Zealand standards, large daily newspaper. There are different, when you're putting together reports as a reporter, there are different elements in what you're putting together and different elements that need to be there. And one of them is called the situationer. I imagine you've not heard the word used in that way. Situationer means you got to describe, well, what's the situation, where, who, and what. Just before you get into the actual, the details of the events and usually the controversies and all that. You got to give a situation so people know what's the situation. So it can be seen like that. Dhritarashtra is describing the situation. Mamaka, my, of me, mamaka, my party, my sons, Pandavas, Chaiva, and the sons of Pandu. So that's the situation, that his sons, the Kurus, the sons of Pandu, the Pandavas, Yudhisthira, Arjuna, and so on, they're all gathered there. And Yuyutsavaha, desiring to fight. Yuyutsavaha. Yudha means to fight, or even a battle as such. Yeah. So Samaveta, they all got there together, Yuyutsavaha, to fight. And so that's the situation. And then to just expand on it a little bit, Kimakurvata, what did they do? Sanjaya is the secretary, but he's also a devotee, whereas Dhritarashtra, of course, he's not a devotee. He's in a very mixed condition and a very mixed up condition. But Sanjaya is a devotee, a disciple of Vyasadeva. And he has that vision. He can see what's going on basically wherever he likes by the mystical potency given to him by Vyasadeva. So that's the situation. Or you could say it's just, what's the situation? Although it's a very, as questions go, Kimakurvata, what did they do? It is, it's kind of like a silly question, because he already said that they are yuyutsavaha, they're desiring to fight, and he knows that they're not just desiring in a sort of general sense, like, yeah, I desire this or that, but they're just bent on fighting. They're completely focused and fixed that they are going to fight, and that's all there is to it. On both sides, it was completely like that. But now Dhritarashtra is asking Kimakurvata, what did they do when they gathered? And, if you really were to take it literally, like he's actually asking a question, like he thinks, what did they do? Gosh. But it's not like that. You could say it's sort of like a rhetorical question. He already knows the answer, but just for some dramatic effect or something like that, he may ask as if he doesn't know, but he does know. Dhritarashtra definitely knows what they're going to do. So it's not like a real question that he might get a different answer to, that they gathered there and then they had a meeting. I mean, of course, the possibility exists they might do that, but it's extremely unlikely because of the general moods on both sides. It was very clear what their moods were, what their desires were, their aspirations, intentions, and they were simply going to do it. But, as is pointed out, it's a sign that Dhritarashtra is anxious. He's in anxiety. There's no need to ask this question. It's just, why bother wasting your breaths? Seeing our lives are apparently defined in terms of number of breaths, why waste your breaths by asking a question which you know the answer to completely? But also in terms of the situation, describing the situation, it's important to understand that Dhritarashtra was in anxiety. And not just in anxiety, but he actually has an expectation, a very specific fear and expectation that things are not going to work out for his sons, because Dharmakshetre, Kurukshetre, that's him speaking. That's Dhritarashtra. It's not Sanjaya saying that, well, it's a sacred place, and sacred places are always favorable for devotees, sacred people. Dhritarashtra knows that. And so he's in anxiety that even though the Pandavas have a smaller army and not so many big heroic warriors, famous warriors like Bhishma and others, but still Dharmakshetre, it's a sacred place and they're sacred people, they're devotees. So therefore, there's a very distinct possibility that his sons will lose. And he's got that idea. In Mahabharata, I've actually never read the entire Mahabharata, but any of you who have could tell me. I know there's a chapter, I think it may be the first chapter, but there's a chapter which is Dhritarashtra's lamentation. You know where it is? Anyway, it's somewhere there. In which Dhritarashtra, over many verses, he expresses after the battle, and he's lost everything. He expresses his lamentation, but not just lamentation. He expresses how he more or less expected things to work out like that because of different things that had happened, which were, you could say, like bad omens for him. That when the Pandavas were saved from the fire in the house of lac, then I should have known, then I thought, I felt that we're not going to be successful. And a whole lot of events like that. When this happened, something unfavorable to him and his family, when this happened, then I thought, we're going to lose everything. And there many, this just goes on and on. His unfortunately too late realizations that it doesn't look good for us. Maybe we should change direction and become more sort of like pro-Krishna. But it's too late. Hindsight is generally much better than foresight. So he's lamenting like that again and again, how he should have known and how he sort of did know, but he just couldn't pull himself together enough. So this is such an incident, such a situation, that actually he's thinking that now my sons and the sons of Pandu are assembled here at Dharmakshetra Kurukshetra, Kurukshetra, which is a very, very sacred place of pilgrimage for thousands and millions of years. It's one of the great classic sacred places. So, he's thinking, it seems to me there's a really good chance we're going to lose. But still, he puts it as a question, because he's sort of hoping against hope that despite everything, it'll work out. So that's the first verse. And sometimes we, with tongue firmly in cheek, sometimes when we read this verse to devotees and we mention the question is, what did they do once they'd assembled, desiring to fight? Sometimes with tongue in cheek we say, well, maybe they sat down and had a cup of tea. Yeah, different, so many things they could have done. But, it's not like that at all. So then it ties in with the last verse. The last verse is spoken by Sanjay. And in the last verse, Sanjay answers the question. He specifically addresses the question of Dhritarashtra in the first verse. Not in, like sort of technically literal terms, but effectively, he answers the question by, it's basically, you could say he's making a prediction, because the battle still has not started yet. So he's sort of making a prediction, but the thing is, Sanjay, he's a devotee and a highly intelligent person, and, in diplomacy and political calculations, all these types of things. He's just one of the top people like that. Therefore, he's the advisor of the king. So if he answers the question without actually, because ultimately the question is, what's going to happen? It's not, what did they do? The question is, what's going to happen? Are my sons going to win or lose? That's the question, actually. So Sanjay answers it also in a sort of roundabout way, but making it really clear what he feels is going to happen. And, because of his expertise, and he knows this is what's going to happen in a roundabout way. It's really nice. Yatra Yogeshvara Krishno, Yatra Parto Dhanurdara, Tatra Shriya Vijayo Bhutir, Dhruva Nitya Matir Mama. So, who's going to win? That's the question, really. And the answer is, in kind of in very diplomatic terms, the answer is, well, wherever there's Krishna, the master of all mystics, and wherever there's Arjuna, the supreme Archer, there will also certainly be opulence, victory, extraordinary power, and morality. That is my opinion. you get the message, right? It's pretty clear. Just read between the lines slightly. And Sanjay is saying that, well, on the Pandava's side, there's Krishna himself, the Supreme Lord, the master of all mystics. And even though the Pandavas they have a much, much smaller army, and the warriors are of much less consequence than the warriors on the Kuru side. But when you've got Krishna, who's the master of all mystics, then, as well, there's a famous saying which Prabhupada would quote from time to time, that if, something like Mare Krishna Rake Ke, Rake Krishna Mare Ke, that if Krishna wants to kill you, no one can save you. The whole world can't save you. But if Krishna wants to save you, the whole world can't kill you. The whole world. Even if they all get together and they arrive on your doorstep wanting to kill you, they can't do it. There's no question. It's just out of the question if Krishna wants to save you, to protect you. Because he's the master of all mystics. It's not just that he's very powerful, very knowledgeable, very beautiful, or renounced, or any qualities you can think of. But as the master of all mystics, you don't stand a chance. You just don't stand a chance to defeat, whoever Krishna is supporting. And then on the other hand, wherever there's Arjuna, who's the supreme archer, who could defeat him? Because Arjuna was an expert archer, that's a fact. Just in military terms, Arjuna was an expert archer. But it wasn't just that he was, highly practiced and he had extremely good eyesight, things like that, although those points were there. But the thing is that he's got Krishna behind him. And therefore, his archery is empowered with this incredible, truly incredible power. So wherever they are, in principle, you can say wherever the Lord is and his devotee, wherever they are, there will also certainly be opulence, victory. Sanjay is sort of like consummate politician. So he doesn't just say that wherever there's Krishna, wherever there's Arjuna, there'll be victory. He says first, there'll be opulence, then there'll be victory. He's just sort of gently putting it. Extraordinary power means not just extraordinary power, but the ultimate power, which is the most extraordinary of all extraordinary power. And morality. Yeah. And morality is something which the Kauravas particularly, Dhritarashtra himself, actually, and then his main son, Duryodhana, and then the second son, Dushasana, morality is something they're really short of. They're just terribly short of. Dushasana tried to undress just any woman, but practically the most chaste woman in public. And people like Bhishma and so many others, they didn't do anything. Where's the morality? it's ghastly, actually. It's so incredibly offensive. And as is pointed out by, well, it's pointed out by Shukadev Goswami, but it's also pointed out by, what's the name of the main wife of Ravana? Huh? Yeah, Mandodari, that's it. Pointed out by Shukadev, then some verses later in the same chapter by Mandodari, that the soldiers of Ravana all died untimely because of the offense against Sita. And, by Ravana, who is their leader. Well, therefore, we have to watch out who's leading us, because, there are implications for you as the laird in regards to who's leading you and what sort of person they are. And then that's Shukadev. And then Mandodari tells the dead body of Ravana that you've come to this, you're in this state because of the curse of Mother Sita. That Sita, even though she's like a very cultured lady, a very refined character, and not, anyway, not like physically powerful as such, but still she was so powerful due to her morality that she was able to, without doing anything herself, by her power, Ravana is fantastically powerful by regular standards. He was just destroyed and he couldn't do anything. So yeah, morality is a very significant thing. It's not just being a sort of a do-gooder or something like that. It's a morality, the standards of morality give strength. And this is why, it's one aspect of why Srila Prabhupada explains on a few occasions that if in Krishna consciousness you want to develop determination, sometimes devotees ask, how do we develop determination? It's a very important question. And it's a very important, an extremely important quality to develop. But Prabhupada answers, how do we develop determination? By following the regulative principles. Prabhupada makes that point. That will give strength, a type of power, that morality. Yes, so the thing is that Sanjay in his, Dhritarashtra has asked this question in his roundabout way, but anyone who understands Dhritarashtra and the situation will understand that Dhritarashtra is asking, who is going to win? Are my sons going to win, or is it going to be bad for them? He's concerned. And in the same way, anyone who understands that will understand the answer of Sanjay here, that he is telling Dhritarashtra, sorry, my dear king, you've had it. You have no chance. You have no chance at all. Yes, because Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Arjuna is his pure devotee. and where you get people, where you get them, the Lord, Bhagavan and Bhakta. Bhagavan, Bhakta, and Bhakti. This is a recipe. Sometimes some of our acharyas talk in these terms. Bhagavan, Bhakta, and Bhakti. When you put these three together, then, everything's just wonderful, the best. Even if things apparently are not the best, maybe something in a certain sense doesn't work out. Maybe it's the marathon and you want to distribute loads of books every day, but someday something goes wrong. The car breaks down or you just get entangled somehow. Back in the old days in England, you might get arrested. Oh my gosh, and you think, Krishna, please. But actually, wherever there's Bhagavan, the Bhakta and Bhakti, it's auspicious. As long as the Bhakta is really doing his or her best to be a Bhakta and not sort of being frivolous or, getting deviated, then whatever the outcome, it'll be for the best ultimately for the devotee. And even if the devotee is being a bit, how they shouldn't be, but Krishna will teach them a lesson. Some misfortune may come, by material terms, but really it's Krishna teaching a lesson for the benefit of the devotee, a lesson the devotee needs to learn, and which when the devotee learns the lesson, they'll be greatly benefited for their future development in Krishna consciousness. Yeah. So this is the situation here, first and last verse. They make the whole thing, they encapsulate the whole thing. The ultimate message being surrender to Krishna, be a devotee, and stop being an independently minded person. Yeah, so there you go, devotees. It's Gita Jayanti. On this day, many years ago, 5,000 and something, someone did a calculation that Bhagavad Gita, that the Battle of Kurukshetra took place, if I remember correctly, in 3024 BC. So that would, if it's really like that, means 5,045 years ago. Anyway, Prabhupada would always just say about 5,000 years ago. Krishna was speaking these words to Arjuna, and he was there supporting Arjuna and amazing what he did. And if we take shelter of Krishna on the Gita Jayanti day, if we take shelter of Bhagavad Gita, and if it helps us become a bit more clear that, yes, Bhagavad Gita is like the foundation of my understandings in Krishna consciousness. There's Bhagavatam, which goes into things in more detail in certain respects, and there's Caitanya Charitamrita, which also takes things further. But still, Bhagavad Gita remains the foundation of my understandings, and of what I am, who I am in Krishna consciousness. I remember actually the first time I read Bhagavad Gita, I just joined the temple. I just become a devotee or joined ISKCON a matter of weeks before. And I read the whole Bhagavad Gita over a few weeks. And I remember at the end closing the book, finished the book, and I remember very clearly thinking, all right, I have to surrender. That's, what can I do? There's no choice, no alternative. Okay, I've got to surrender. Hare Krishna. Any comments? Words of wisdom? Questions? Anything? Yes?
What happens if a person who doesn't have the potency to curse, but curse somebody?
Yeah. Well, I heard, years ago, like in the 70s, I heard it said that if someone tries to curse someone but they don't have the potency, that the curse comes back on them. And the example which was given was, it's in the story of, is it Krishna killing the Mura demon? The king of Kashi was killed, right? His head was thrown back over the walls of the city, something like that. And so I think it was his son produced some magical demon to go out and I guess kill Krishna. And so the demon went racing off, but then, was not capable, so came racing back and killed, it's the son, isn't it, of the king of Kashi. So that was the example which was told to me. It sounds, like not a bad idea, pretty good idea. But, one thing which is not just a good idea, but is very true, is that if anyone gets into such a mood where they feel like actually cursing someone, I mean, of course, there may be some situation, where the person that you feel like cursing is just like a super maximum offender. But otherwise, I mean, in general, if it's just a sort of run-of-the-mill offender, but still, not nice, but you get into such a mood, then it's very bad for you. Because that sort of anger and that sort of violent mentality, it's extremely deep tamagun, and you're in extremely deep tamagun. Otherwise, I mean, of course it's said that you can use, in Nectar of Devotion, you can use anger for Krishna against the demons. And Srila Prabhupada gives the examples of Hanuman and Arjuna, that they became angry against the offenders and so they took action physically. But for us to really, I mean, in the many cases, it would seem to be more appropriate to just say, well, the person's an offender and Krishna will take care of them. Yamaraj will take care of them in due course, because they will, actually. And if we get caught up, particularly if someone gets into like a cursing habit or, an anger habit, like Devasa Muni, It's not good. It's really not good. And, you know, we try to, Prabhupada explains, in terms of killing the demons, we try generally, or Lord Chaitanya's approach was to kill the demoniac mentality. So then you've killed the demon. Yeah. I mean, through preaching and through chanting the holy names. Is that okay? Hare Krishna. Anything else? Yes.
I was just thinking about the place, Kurukshetra, being a holy place.
Right.
And I was just wondering what could have been the reasoning for those who organized the battle to have selected a holy place to have such a ghastly war going on. Because if I had to be given the choice of a place, a holy place would be like the last thing on our mind to go there.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking it's sort of indicative of the nature of the people at that. And they kind of knew it was a holy battle, actually.
Right.
And they selected a place like that. But it was quite interesting to select it.
It's an interesting question. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. Interesting point. You know, one thing is, it's a big, really big flat area. Really big. But I guess there's plenty of big flat areas around they could have used. Yeah, I don't know. Kurukshetra, it's the place of the Kurus. Yeah. And a place of the performance of sacrifice for eons. And I guess, you know, they're all, at the least, even Duryodhana, they're all Kshatriyas, you know, and they know Kshatriya codes, so they know that for Kshatriyas to fight, it's sacred. Yeah, it's not just fighting, it's an extremely sacred thing. Interesting.
Yeah, I also had two other reasons of, perspectives of Dhritarashtra asking about Kurukshetra, to Sanjay. One was that he was concerned that his sons mustn't also get influenced by the holy place and compromise in some way
Right.
and walk away from the whole situation. But he also had desired that the holy place's influence might also influence the Pandavas to also, okay, we shouldn't do this. So that was an interesting perspective that was shared.
Yes. Poor old Dhritarashtra, you know. He's like one of the classic losers. Just right till the end, living at the expense of the Pandavas until it was Vidura, right? Yeah. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.